Part 1. The Encounter. It was a damp and overcast Tuesday evening in downtown Atlanta. The city buzzed with the usual mix of commuters and pedestrians rushing to escape the drizzle. Among them was Maya Carter, an accomplished black woman with a sharp sense of purpose. Her tailored black pantsuit and leather briefcase signified professionalism and command. But beneath the polished exterior was someone who had fought tirelessly to climb the ranks in the FBI, breaking barriers and stereotypes at every turn. Maya had just left a federal courthouse after a day-long briefing on a high-profile case involving corruption in the local police department. The irony of what she was about to experience wasn't lost on her later. As she walked towards her black SUV parked near the curb, the faint sound of tires screeching reached her ears. A patrol car pulled up aggressively, its headlights cutting through the evening haze. Two officers emerged, their demeanor immediately hostile. Sergeant Jack Wallace, a burly middle-aged man with a perpetual scowl, was accompanied by Officer Kevin Green, a younger man whose smirk hinted at misplaced confidence. "Hey, stop right there!" Wallace barked, his hand already resting on the grip of his holstered firearm. Maya turned slowly, her expression calm but questioning. "Is there a problem, officers?" "You don't belong here," Wallace said sharply, his tone leaving no room for doubt about what he implied. "This is a restricted area." Maya's brows furrowed slightly. "Restricted? I wasn't aware. I'm parked right there," she said, gesturing towards her SUV just a few feet away. Wallace's eyes narrowed. "Show us some ID," he demanded. Maya took a deep breath, steadying herself. She had encountered situations like this before, moments when her skin color seemed to eclipse everything else. "I'm not obligated to show you ID unless you have probable cause," she replied, her voice firm but measured. Wallace bristled at her defiance. "Don't play smart with me, lady. Hand it over now, or we'll have to do this the hard way." Officer Green chimed in, his smirk widening. "She thinks she knows the law. Let's see how far that gets her." Maya stood her ground, her posture unyielding. "I'm walking to my vehicle. If you have an issue, you can follow protocol and explain why you're stopping me." Wallace, now visibly irritated, took a step closer, towering over her. "Don't tell me how to do my job," he spat. The confrontation escalated when Maya turned to walk away, hoping to de-escalate the situation. Wallace reached out and grabbed her arm roughly. "Let go of me," Maya said, her voice rising but still controlled. When she tried to pull away, Wallace's grip tightened, and in an impulsive act of aggression, he swept her leg. The sudden move sent Maya tumbling to the ground. The impact jolted her briefcase open, spilling its contents, including her FBI badge and identification card. Wallace smirked down at her, but his satisfaction was short-lived. Officer Green glanced at the badge and froze. Jack?" Green muttered nervously. "What now?" Wallace snapped, annoyed. Green pointed at the badge, his smirk gone. "You need to see this." Wallace's eyes darted to the ground, landing on the gleaming badge that read, "Special Agent in Charge, Federal Bureau of Investigation." Part 2. Unmasking the Truth. Wallace's face turned ashen. For a moment, the street seemed to go silent as the weight of his actions settled in. Maya rose slowly, brushing off the dampness from her tailored pantsuit, her gaze fixed on Wallace, her eyes cold and unyielding. "Special Agent Carter," Green stammered, taking a step back. We didn't know. We didn't realize." "Enough," Maya interrupted, her tone sharp. She retrieved her badge and held it up, the FBI emblem gleaming under the streetlight. "You just assaulted a federal agent. That's a serious offense." Wallace opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. The confidence that had fueled his earlier aggression was replaced by a growing panic. This was a misunderstanding," he finally managed to say, his voice faltering. "You should have identified yourself sooner." Maya's lips curved into a tight smile, but there was no humor in it. "I tried to," she said, "but you were too busy profiling me to listen." The tension was palpable as a small crowd began to gather, drawn by the commotion. Some bystanders had their phones out, recording the encounter. Wallace, desperate to regain control of the situation, attempted to sound conciliatory. "Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be. We can sort this out." Maya took a step closer, her presence commanding. You tackled me to the ground without cause. That's not something I take lightly. Green, who had remained silent, finally spoke up. Maybe we should all just calm down. No, Maya said firmly. This doesn't end here. She pulled out her phone and dialed her supervisor. Within moments, she was connected. This is Special Agent Carter. I need internal affairs and legal counsel at my location immediately. We have a case of police misconduct and excessive force. Wallace's face turned red, his earlier bravado entirely gone. Green looked like he wanted to disappear. The sound of sirens in the distance signaled the arrival of backup, but this time, it wasn't for Maya. Part 3. The Fallout. The arrival of internal affairs officers turned the scene into a media spectacle. Reporters and onlookers swarmed the area, their cameras capturing every detail. Wallace and Green were separated and questioned on the spot, their earlier aggression now replaced with stammering excuses. Maya recounted the events with precision, her years of FBI training evident in her calm and authoritative demeanor. Witnesses corroborated her story, and the video footage left little room for doubt. The police department's Internal Affairs Division immediately placed Wallace and Green on administrative leave. Meanwhile, Maya's FBI colleagues rallied around her, ensuring the incident would not be swept under the rug. Back at FBI headquarters, Maya's supervisor commended her for her composure during the ordeal. You handled yourself with incredible poise, Agent Carter, he said. We'll make sure this incident is thoroughly investigated. The media coverage of the incident sparked a national conversation about racial bias in law enforcement. Maya, initially reluctant to become the face of such a movement, decided to use her platform to advocate for change. Part 4, Justice served months later, the case went to trial. Wallace and Green faced charges of misconduct and excessive use of force. Maya, determined to hold them accountable, testified with the same poise and determination that had defined her career. The jury found both officers guilty, and they were dismissed from the force. Wallace's career was effectively over, his reputation in tatters. But for Maya, the case was never just about personal justice. Using the settlement she received, she established a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting unbiased policing practices and supporting victims of racial profiling. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. Maya became a sought-after speaker, her story inspiring others to stand up against injustice. In the end, Maya's resilience turned a moment of humiliation into a movement for justice, proving once again that courage and determination could change the world.